I think I should start. We will see. Oh, yeah, on your watch? How late is it on your watch? Okay, let's start. Okay, welcome everyone to my talk, Coding a Disability Inclusive World, 3 stories. So that means that you will hear stories. And you're going to learn about people with disabilities. I am Dennie Declercq. I'm Microsoft MVP. I have my own business in Belgium. I'm a dreamer. I always say dreaming is believing. You can go to our website and pay stuff and so. But it's not the topic of today. The topic of today will be, I want you to imagine 2030. An introduction. And I'm going to tell you some stories what might happen in 2030. And then I give you some insights and theory about personas and about integration of those personas in our software development lifecycle. But I promise you to start with 2030. And imagine we are continue as a business, of course, not we as a person, in general as a business, continue what we are doing. We are digitalizing everything. Everything digitalizing is amazing for the geeks and for people who are able to do all the stuff. But we don't do a big accessibility revamp. What will happen? That's the topic of today. About the theory after this and beside of this, I'm going to inspire you what we can change. Because for some people, the world might not be so bright if we don't change a lot of things. And this talk is not about software being used in your business, at the school, at your departments, for workers or any profession. It's more really about end-user software. By example, digital wallets, banking apps, or even identity system to enter a building. We all have that wave in COVID that we needed to, by example, show an app and a QR code to prove, by example, that you are vaccinated or tested to enter. I'm not going to talk about if you should vaccinate or test. I'm talking about what if there are people not being able to show the QR code on their phone because they cannot work with the phone. And the whole talk is about that those people exist and those people really have a right to live. And for me, it's inclusion where it came from in about the year 2000. And that talk was one of the focus, it was the focus. I came into the business. So let's say, bring it back again with all the lessons I learned and introduce you some storytelling. And as I promised you some stories, I'm going to start with John. John is amazing, to be honest. Let me read you some story. Imagine people as reading stories again to you. John, who has a mild form of Down syndrome, used to frequent the bar with his friends. Thanks to financial support from his grandpa, before each visit, his parent would give him 3 $10 bills, allowing him to enjoy 3 Coca-Colas. Unfortunately, John is unable to navigate the digital world due to his condition, which had led his parents to place him in a home for people with disabilities. There, he remains disconnected from the ever-evolving digital landscape and even the broader world and its family. And maybe that story sounds really, really Black Mirror. No, it's reality. Not John, but I know people going through those situations in the jobs that I'm doing. But we need to recap a little bit. I need to explain you some things, because I can imagine a lot of you don't work with, by example, people with Down syndrome. So let's explain you some things. So John's profile, he has Down syndrome, and this is a learning disability. And people with a learning disability and Down syndrome need some additional software requirements to work with it. By example, the use of iconography and pictures, speech, easy language, low-budget devices, and in-person interactions. Never underestimate the power of in-person interactions. So Down syndrome is a learning disability. But what is a learning disability? So your intelligent functioning is noticed as your IQ, your intelligence quotient. And let's say for the average maybe in this room, this may be about 120 average in the room. Developers, geeks, yeah, some 110, some 130. But people with Down syndrome are adults grown up, with the intelligence quotient still having, let's say, they can be below 75. So they are adults with, let's say, the mind of a young child. It's not their fault. It's a disability in the development, the wrong development of the brains and more. So this can, or this causes most of the time, near always, and some degree, illiteracy. So not being able to read, by example. Difficulties with math, like say, going to the example, the $3 bills. What can you do with $3 bills? Can you buy 10 Coca-Colas? It depends where you are. But also adaptive behavior. Difficulties with envisioning, reasoning, you do something, and reasoning and explaining why you did something, or why you make a choice, or why you listen or don't listen to somebody. Imagination. And of course, this also led into problems in daily life. Not all of them, not at all. Because each disability is a spectrum, but some of them even have difficulties for just daily things like washing themselves and cleaning themselves. And communication, of course. But we can help those people with software. And that's the talk about. We can do this. And I'm going to prove you. So when our software application we made, we are working with very easy language. Short sentences, easy words variations, an example. You can ask people to show their accreditation to enter the building, like the conference. You just can ask them to show their badge or their ticket. And avoid acronyms. I don't know, I'm also a geek and we love acronyms, but maybe in our end products, if we want the end products to be used by a variety of people, we should be mindful of acronyms. So some example sentences in your applications or even in written communication. Show your ticket at the entrance. Ring the bell to the left when nobody is here. Enter your date of birth here. Type your name here. Very concrete, very clear. Now, the next slide, I have a challenge for you. Is there anybody proud enough to yell out what the next thing means? Nobody? The first one now is please yell or raise your hand, but I'm going to change one thing. I know you are thinking, Dennie, you're messing stuff up. Not at all. There's a really clear theory about this. And from some, of course, each disability is expected, but from some of those with a learning disability like Down syndrome, letters and words means nothing. It's just the same as Chinese tokens for us. or Japanese. So they see it. And that's a big difference, because they see the tokens, or the words and the letters, but they cannot form words with it, with the meaning with it. It's really nice to know, but if you speak the word, you understand, but some of them cannot link it to, let's say, the written squigglies. And it's just the same like a very, very foreign language for us. But it's nice if you know this, if you combine pictures and even speech, they will get information. So I am really advising for adding speech interfaces everywhere. And of course, this can be on the cloud or mobile. By example, you have Azure Speech, but you also have the voice text to speech on nearly every device. And especially if you combine things, a lot of time building really accessible technology is combining different things, and the words, and an image, and speech. And you also need to realize that those people most of the time have a lower income. So this may and will lead in a lot of times to lower budget devices. So they don't always have the latest, and unfortunately this also means safest device. So you need to publish your software, and if you're publishing your software, you need to test also on low-end devices. Is it still kind of nice to work with? Is it still secure, performing? And even building, some publishers decide just not to run their application on an Android below a certain point or iOS before a certain point anymore. So you are forcing people with a very limited budget to buy something new that is quite of expensive or not using and not being integrated in the world anymore. And I know we are developers, we are geeks, but please, not everything in the world needs to be digital. At least, if you ask me, nothing should be really only digital. I love digital interfaces. I love digital interfaces as a digital twin to the physical thing. But if you have a twin, the digital twin, the physical thing is always also still there. So you can, by example, show your mobile ticket, or even on a chip, or show the printed ticket to enter. And we will talk about money, for example. Digital money, if you cannot read, or if you even have difficulties with numbers, like not knowing what is 10. What is 10? 10. What is this? Yeah, but that's a thing for people, some people with Down syndrome. What is 10? Can I have 1 or 2 Cokes or no Coke at all? I don't know. Depends on which country, as I said. But also human interaction and human in the room. Do you need to make an appointment to visit a doctor or a clinic via the computer? Or can you call a line and ask them, can I book an appointment with Dr. X? Or maybe you start by doing the online thing, for example, I say not the doctor this time, it may be positive, for a concert ticket. But those people also want to go to concert. I want to buy a ticket to go to Bring Me the Horizon. Yeah, I'm a fan. And yeah, I cannot call anymore because it's all only digital. It's sold out very fast. What should I do? Not going and leave the world behind for people with no disabilities? Oh, that's a bad thing. You really need to think about this stuff. But maybe you can book online, but if it's not working, or if you panic, or if it works, that you have a line to call. Maybe can you help me to manage a ticket for me? Because I want to Bring Me the Horizon. And you will hear the name Bring Me the Horizon later on in this talk. Just a little bit of teasing. And because you are so good, and by the end we're going to be real 2030, you implemented all the devices, all the advices, I mean not devices. You did all the stuff, and I want to read John's story again. So, John now possesses an affordable smartphone seamlessly connected to the internet. He and his friends have joined a social network called Smile, which relies on pictographs and images to represent local pubs and restaurants. Remarkably, even his grandpa Dre is part of the digital community. Dre continues to provide him with banknotes for his pub outings. Meanwhile, John Parent has subscribed to a cloud-based digital agenda that syncs with John's device. In emergencies, they receive calls throughout the system. The digital agenda empowers cloud-powered text-to-speech functionality. Recently, it reminded John about an upcoming dating night in his favorite pub. Eagerly, he saves an extra banknote for this Friday, hoping to charm a lovely girl. And as fate would have it, John met Daisy. Next week, they are off to the movie theater for their date. Not kidding. Maybe it's a fairy tale, but that is possible. The difference between those stories, we are developers, we have that magic. So please use it. So, that was John. And that's not about Down syndrome again. Let's talk about other stuff. We have Lisa. Do you want to know something about Lisa? Oh yeah, I know it already. Lisa is a teenager navigating the intricate landscape of autism. Possesses a unique brilliance that unfolds at his own pace. While not the top of her class, she certainly isn't lacking in intelligence. Her mind, deliberate and thoughtful, required extra time to translate its intricate musings into action. Yet, Lisa's world is a complex tapestry. Her brother, unburdened with autism or other disabilities, commands much of her parents' attention. In school, time constraints force teachers to allocate only the bare minimum to Lisa. They focus down elsewhere. The allure of investing in other students overshadows her struggle to keep up pace with her peers. As she turns 18, Lisa faces a daunting reality. The job market remains elusive. The world, once full of promise, now feels distant and unattainable. Sorry again for the sad story, my friends. That's that you know that you need to change stuff in your software. So let's look a little bit into Lisa's profile. Autism. Really important, we're going to talk about autism as a child. Really important. So a child with autism might need more structure, time, more exercises, and trust. Trust is bi-directional. Trusting the child, trusting the software system, but also the parents and the teachers trusting the child working with that software system. So it's bi-directional. And maybe we need to start to look first to adults with autism. So I am a person with autism. And then we have the whole speculation, autism. Is this a disability or is it a talent? My opinion, it's my opinionated talk, so it's my opinion. I think it's both. And we look at it through the lens of disability, and we can look at it through the lens of a talent. And for me, I know it's a very political thing this time. Autism, my personal opinion is, it's both at the same time. And it's good to look at both lenses. So if you look to the column of disability, you have the rigidity. Being way more rigid can block you in your life. Difficulties with structure. Difficulties with communication. Saying that those people are way too much in their own world, or that I'm sometimes way too much in my own world for other people. And way more challenges than stress with the average. For me, this column is true. So it is both. The possibility for having deep focus, special interest, and out-of-the-box thinking brought me to here. Brought me to having a career as a speaker and being a Microsoft MVP, even without having a paid job. I'm a volunteer because I have different difficulties. I'm a crazy boy. It's not always autism. It's also not always mentally, of course. Next year, maybe I will give something to you, a new talk. I don't know. But go back to the children of the spectrum, because I think, opinionated, for adults, it's more important to focus about the communication and the interaction more than really building and adjusting the software. Other adults that I know will say this is not true. It's okay. And sometimes I will refer to them later on in this talk, because they have a point too. But if we comparing children with adults with autism, you can see some things. So with children, you can really say structure is completely missing. Of course, everything is a spectrum, but most of the time, structure is missing. Different behavior, and of course, if I put different behavior in those little quotes, that is labeled from the adults, from the teachers, as bad behavior. There's no such a thing as different behavior, you know. They have a shadow, they're panicking, have a meltdown. And reasoning and rigidity as seen as they are the stubborn kids. I was, and I'm proud of it. Yeah, because all the stuff brought me to here in my life, not only this conference, but in general. But you can say that adults often need way more structure than people without autism, so they need help with structure. They need help with communication. But most of the time, for most of them, they find a way around. Or they are coping. And coping is not such a good thing. It seems to be good in our amazing capitalistic Western world. But that means performing at your job really good, making your achievements, proving your points, having some kind of social life, having a friend or a girlfriend, you know. And then you come home, 7 p.m., poof. You lay on the couch, you have nothing of quality of life anymore. That's coping, because you burned all your energy during the day to cope as being as normal as possible, and if you come home, it's over. It's not a good thing. And some people, they are proud that they can cope. I don't like the idea of people having nothing from quality of life, and their private life is kind of high. But go to children and some adults still, of course. Some things are really nice. For example, the second point, clear and easy to find the opening hours, street address, contact info. Even for me, if I need to go to, for example, a new service, maybe my example, medical health service provider, it's nice that everything is concrete. And apps and software having a structure. This time I'm going into an amazing reminiscence. If I was 50, 16 years old, I started to hack websites on my own, HTML, you know. A sitemap was really a thing. You didn't have websites without the clear sitemap. Where are they? Why now? And straightforward and up-to-date information. There's nothing worse than a website, by example, about a service provider or a medical service provider. There is info, by example, opening hours. It's really not up-to-date anymore. You're going to the business, it's closed, you know. And the printed version, yeah, it's closed. Opening hours are changed. They're doing this. And they forget to update websites. It's a thing, normal. Time is a lot of time a difficulty for children and even some adults on the spectrum. Provide visualization of time. And I really love the idea of providing the option to extend time. For example, go back to Bring Me the Horizon. You want to book tickets. You are panicking because you forgot you are a little worry in your head. You are other thoughts. And you forget you need to have your wallet with your credit card. But your credit card is in another room. And the room is on another level. You have your credit card, you go to up again. Sorry, it's sold out. Yeah, but that's reality. And I know the reason of time that is because you don't block the system for a long time of an activity and even blocking for bad behavior, like DDoS attacks. So the time shouldn't be infinite, yeah, because having a time infinite in case like ticket sales is just a ticket to fail the system. But having a button, extend, or making it clear you only have 2 minutes, but you can extend. You need a human interaction, the person needing to click on it. Okay, I have the wrong card. I extend, I went downstairs again for my wallet. And the idea of gamification for learning and study apps and websites. Study apps, gamification really make those children, for example, way more motivated, a better reason to do than only because the teacher wanted. But you can also going further, not only in education apps, but you can and you should, if you ask me, extend it also to health, system tracking, mental health, for example, the good days, the bad days, the panic attacks in your day, activity tracking. If you add some gamification, there's more reason to use it and to make progress. But even if you are thinking about a complex application, that you have a lot of possibilities to work with, having an interface that you can play with and have some Easter eggs, for example, or get some credibility, because then you are using the dopamine feedback system. And people with autism, or children with autism, and also people with ADHD and ADD, not covered in this talk because I only have 1 hour, really are relying on way more on the dopamine system than other people. Building trust? Yeah, simple. Make software that limit crashes and errors. Great. But also having settings easy to change. If you say, let's say, I make a setting, I want to go to bed each night. Lisa in this talk needs to go to bed each night at 9:30. I had an application and planning, but then it's vacation, it's holiday. And her parents are saying 9:30 is not needed. In the vacation, 11:30. It should be really easy for the application, for example, managing a structure, to make that adjustment. Let's say changing from 9:30 to 11:30. And do you know why? Because Lisa and her parents can rely on such agenda applications. And if it's too difficult to change, even the parents that have the ID, yeah, you can wake up 2 hours longer from 9:30 to 11:30, but no, you are working with the app and everything is okay. Oh, so difficult to change. Go to bed at 9:30. No, it's not okay. Stuff is happening. And the same thing of wide and easy usage of parental control, but also making the rules stronger, so more limitations, but also looser, less limitations on certain points, on certain achievement, on certain exceptions. Well, we are 2030, and you are so good here. You did all the stuff, and I have another story for you. We are 2030. Try again, Lisa. Lisa's journey unfolds like a symphony, each note resonating with determination and passion. Her school teachers discovered her prowess through diligent exercises on the WeTry app, a digital companion that bolstered her academic performance. On her trusty iPhone, an agenda meticulously mapped out her WeTry sessions. But Lisa's education extended beyond textbooks. Tom, her teacher, carved out precious lunchtime moments to impart guitar wisdom. The line breakers tonight? guitar wisdom. As a metal enthusiast, Lisa revealed playing riffs from Bring Me the Horizon's latest albums, her fingers dancing across the strings. At 17, the local music center beckoned. Lisa's graced her talent show stage, strumming the haunting shores of Schwan, Bring Me the Horizon's song. The audience erupted in applause and amidst the ovation. Kate, Lisa's devoted admirer, offered her a drink. They hearthed and twined. Love blossomed. Graduation at 18 arrived, a bittersweet milestone. Lisa's academic journey had been steady, if not stellar. Yet, beyond the classroom, she thrived. Her guitar now echoed to local venues as part of a band. Their eyes sat on the grand prize in a nationwide music talent show. Lisa and Kate dared to dream. A world tour with dark, sunny chicks. Yeah, and the last word is my fantasy. As a metal enthusiast, it's really crazy. Dark, sunny chicks. I will buy tickets. The last story of today. And then we are going to give you more theory about, as I said, the personas, and also about integrating. But first, have a look to Kim and Dave, because again, it's a complete different story. Kim, 56, grapples with the aftermath of a severe brain injury, rendering communication and comprehension arduous tasks. Her devoted husband, Dave, aged 66, faced the early stages of dementia. Together they navigate a world where the physical reality intertwines with mandatory digital counterparts, a labyrinth they struggle to traverse. Their participation in this digital age remains elusive, a poignant reminder of their barriers they face. Ken, not such a great story, this means the song story. But let's investigate those cases a little bit further. So Kim's profile, she had an acquired brain injury, and she needs pictures, speech, sample layout, and human interactions. And starting right now, in this part of my talk, you will see things if you are really attentionally. Maybe you will have the possibility to link stuff. So Dave's profile, as I mentioned, he needs low devices, physical assets, memories, and human interaction in the loop. And now, there's a caveat here. I built a slide and I know I put low devices. Isn't that cheating? Yes, I cheated. Needing low devices, hearing loss, has nothing to do with dementia. But because Dave is aging, and I don't want to have a complete other story with also hearing difficulties and blindness, because I wanted to talk about, let's say, brand new or disabilities that not a lot of developers know about, but I couldn't hide because I'm linking people with dementia also having hearing difficulties, because at the age, some things are coming together. But no, if you remind this talk with saying, Dennie is saying you have to have low devices for dementia, then you don't have a point. And you need to watch the recording again, because I cheated, I do. But also physical assets, memories, and human, as I said. But let's go a little bit deeper again into the acquired brain injury. So it's a decrease of intelligence, a decrease in the ability to concentrate, and this is coming due to an accident or a disease. So it can come from a car crash, or it can come from a disease like example, a brain tumor, cancer in the brain. So those people need, you will see similarities, simple layout, human in the loop, can use the language really, really helps. So dementia is also being not able to learn new things and in your mind staying a lot of time in the past. But we can help them, of course. Here, I love the idea and it's working bright backgrounds. I know a lot of geeks love dark backgrounds. It's okay. It's a preference. It's inclusion. We can do what we want. But the reason behind bright background for those people is that it looks more like paper because paper is white. So it's more used to them. It's less different. Large font, and in your application, a limited need for navigation, and also icons. I don't hate my iPhone, to be honest. I hate one function on it. Is anyone knowing which function on my iPhone I hate? The volume blocker. And you can't turn it off. It's a shame, because maximum volume can be needed for people with hearing difficulties, but it's also very, very needed or helpful for people on the autism spectrum coping with stress and wanting to overstimulate their thoughts. And then Apple says no. I always thought a human, we can use technology, but technology shouldn't decide, I don't know. But also, a lot of devices I'm thinking about, older and specialized hardware. Maybe they're having some hearing aid system that is not compliant with newer devices, of course. For example, just not too technical, but the new version of Bluetooth is not working anymore. Do you need to force them to buy a new device? Maybe an expensive hearing aid device? And I love the theory about, in your applications, when it's possible, building reminiscence. So you can ask questionnaires about your past life. I kind of love the idea that you can also show pictures. This happens on this day, or quotes, this happened on this day. It has its dark side, but it also has its bright side. And also having reminiscence you can have, but stimulating family interaction. So reminiscence is a social methodology, the social science of the human science methodology of reminding and brain training with memories from the past. And here I say human. Human, we need human, even we are technologists. And this can be human takeover again, human in the loop, or human interception, making exceptions. You have a form, you cannot fill it right in because you have a whole lot of situations, but you can make an exception, an interception. Physical assets, real money, real physical pictures also. The old pictures, do we still reminding this? Old parking systems with buttons. Yeah. And also easy ticketing for public transport, meeting center, entrances. And no, you are waiting. I won't share it yet. I want you to be here in the room. I don't want you leaving knowing all the nice stories because you think already it will be a great end. Oh yeah. But first you're going to listen to some theory. I'm going to learn you how you can use personas in your software design. So first of all, what are personas? It is the description or the objectifying of a possible person having a recognizable name, a basic description of the person, and I always advise and like the idea of using positive wording. You will see later on what I mean. Later on is no. So persona mapping. And you are going into the example of Hearing Harold. Okay, the recognizable name is Hearing Harold. 70 years old, male, retired woodworker, and he's a widow. That's his basic personal information. Nature and Paul, his old friends, and birds are his topics of interest. And then you have hard of hearing and not digital-minded. These are his disabilities and difficulties. I know you are saying you didn't tell about somebody with hearing difficulties. Yes, because the exercise will be later on persona mapping to the stories you already heard. It's just an example, because we all know what I think what hearing difficulties is. But here an example on the positive working. I prefer hearing Harold. You can also have the opposite that I don't like. For example, deaf Dave. What's more human, what's more positive? So if we look back to the talk that we made, we have in John, Lisa, Kim, and Dave, we can have the following information for their personas. We have learning Larry, 20 years old. So his basic personal information, 20 years old, male, volunteer, single. His topic of interest are the pup, his friends and his grandpa, and his disabilities and difficulties are Down syndrome, let's say dash learning disability. We have authentic Elsa, of course it is Lisa, 15 years old, female, student, and single, at least at the beginning of this talk. Metal music, girlfriend, and going out. And so the disability dash difficulty is autism as a teen dash child. We have Rainy Brittany, of course this is Kim, 56 years old, female, sickness leave, and married. Topic of interest are family and nature. And disabilities dash difficulties are acquired brain injury. And then we have remembering Ronald, 66, male, retired, you know, and he loves snooker and restaurants. So we start with personas. But now you need to do, if we want to build an inclusive world, because 2030 is coming, we need to do user research. We need to research and look at your current users. Are there some people with disabilities? But you're also needing to look at your potential users. Those are people who are not customers or users, but in your mind you are talking of applications should be helpful for those people too. Why is some group of people not using the application? Do research. Maybe they have some disabilities that your application is not accessible for. And if you start to knowing some stuff, you can provide a safe space of having interviews with them and panels to ask them about their difficulties and disabilities. And of course, with the inside of our personas, and our user base can be growing and will be growing if we do it in a good way, then we need to integrate, of course, those insights into our software roadmap. That's the last part. So we need to link the personas' needs. So we need to list up all the personas' difficulties, disabilities. And we need to look up on research for accessible accommodations and approach for each disability and difficulty. And then we need to have also a nice to have for each persona. So the first category is a need to have, but if we only in life have everything we need, but not the things that are really nice, we are also not that happy, to be honest. So we can make a table, and we can do mapping again. So again, I start with having Harold, just, let's say, hearing difficulties, quite easy to understand. And then later on, we will link also our own personas. Having Harold is hard of hearing and not digital-minded. And now people might think being not digital-minded is as a disability. Aren't a lot of people disabled if you think that way? My answer is, I love the ideology or the methodology from Microsoft inclusive guidelines. And they are linking all the disabilities to a whole spectrum in different categories. So they are saying that also the big statement is, I'm not going about whole their framework, but the big statement I love is, a disability is not a human personal condition. It is the mismatch between a person and a situation. So if a person needs to do something, but there's a mismatch, it's really difficult or not possible to do it, then they are, at that moment, at that situation, experiencing disability. So in a world that everything is mandatory digital, even if you don't have an official disability, but you need to use the digital tools and you are not able to, and you have nothing from experience, in that case, you are experiencing disability. So what do they need? Low device output for the hard of hearing and subtitles. And then you have the nice to have assistive hearing aid support. I know people already doing some accessibility are thinking, why is this not a need to have? Because I already linked the beginning of this talk to capitalistic systems. Everything we do costs money and buy-in from this company. And some things are way more difficult to achieve than other stuff. So that's the reason. So for the not digital-minded, easy layout, bug-free stability, and human interception or take over the needs. And exercise interface, again, is a nice to have for the same reason I already explained. So then we can come back to the big personas of my talk. And we are combining in one slide John and Lisa. So for John, we have learning Larry with Down syndrome, needing iconography, easy language, low budget device interop, and human interception dash takeover. And then the nice to have is pictures and text to speak. And it's really, really interesting why am I putting in this case iconography on the needs and pictures on the nice to have. And the explanation for this is it's becoming from the years 2014-15. I was working on a program, an application, to show people with Down syndrome in an institution, in a daycare center, was to eat. And for sometimes icons are really clear. For example, the time for the dinner. But I had a conversation with none of those organizations, or how you call it, and they are saying, let's say potatoes. If you put a picture of potatoes, it may and it will look different if your mom is cooking than if the organization is cooking. Then maybe they're also doing some voluntary work in a workplace, call it supported employment, and they're eating a day in a week, then the potatoes will look different again. And then if you have the combination of people accelerate with kind of severe down, and now some autism tweets, and they see a picture of potatoes, but it's looking completely different, this can be very, very confusing. So if you want to have pictures, you will need to have a lot recent, accurate, and up-to-date, continuous information from the people you work with. That's the reason it has way more effort. I would start with iconography. Text-to-speech, again, money. So for authentic Elsa, so it's Lisa, we have autism as kids at teen, structure, time, exercises, and trust mechanisms. I put it here as needs. And nice to have, we have the gamification and the easy parental control. I think gamification makes sense. Working hours. The easy parental controls, because it's a very difficult thing to, because a lot of times then you will need to interrupt also with the device that people are working on, with their operating system. So it's a lot of things to find out. So please start with the needs. So for Kim and Dave, we have Brainy Benny to start with. Brainy Benny, of course, is Kim with acquired brain injury. Really interesting. Here we have the picture in the needs column. Different. With Learning Larry, it already makes sense why. Because their picture is really needed for the reminiscence. Then we have the human in the loop. So it's all the human interaction, human interception. I just put it into one thing. It's easy. And then easy language. And then the nice to have, we have our text-to-speech. And then we have the remembering Ronald, so dementia, low devices, as already explained in this talk, and for people just watching a little part of the recording, no, it's not really linked to dementia, you know. Human, just as an umbrella term, and also physical assets, and then the nice to have is reminiscence. I really love the idea of building reminiscence into our applications, but of course it is a lot of work to do this, and maybe also a complete different niche to go in or a different part. But again, we are 2030 and you are so good, you listen to me, and let's look again to the story about Kim and Dave. The last story to end. So, Kim, adept at harnessing her executive faculties, relies on the web version of Retry for her cognitive exercises. Alongside Dave, she navigates the social network Smile. I was forgotten. Their shared mission, unearthing cherished family photos for their grandchildren. The right individuals and delivering... The magic of cloud-powered text-to-speech simplifies their quest, swiftly identifying the right individuals and delivering the crucial status updates. Their digital explorations led them to a hidden gem, a snooker palace nestled beside a serene pond on this end of the city. Harold, a newfound friend, graciously shuffles them twice a week. As Dave and Gerald engaged in spirited snooker matches, Kim basks in the verdant embrace of a beautiful garden by the water's edge. And then, on a Sunday, that feels like destiny. The family gathers. Joyful whispers reveal the news. A new grandchild is on the way. In this tapestry of connections, Kim and Dave find themselves woven into the fabric of society. A stroke of luck warms their hearts. Thank you. I just hope the last thing was not too cheesy. I don't know. Are there some questions that I can try to answer? Or that I just answered? If not, you can also come to have a talk. I will be here until tomorrow noon. I need to leave earlier than the end of the day tomorrow. And I will be at the party. So, thank you. This was not too cheesy. Thank you.
I wanted to see with you if you know some nice resources to explore this a bit more. I'm colorblind, so I know there are a lot of simulators for that.
Oh, I have a whole talk about color blindness. Other conferences. A whole I should. Did you take picture? Like, you should contact me. You can. I have already lots of talks on my GitHub repo.
Okay, cool.
It's also the link there. And if you look to the Microsoft Inclusive Design Guidelines, and also but to be really honest, this stuff of those disabilities, so like Down syndrome and dementia, is really undiscovered stuff because most of the accessibility guidelines is really to make, let's say, people productive at their job. And it's really to end cases. You can have an idea of the Microsoft inclusive guidelines. But yeah, it's quite undiscovered space.
Okay, yeah, I've seen a lot of accessibility stuff, mostly about physical disabilities and visual, but for the mental challenging parts.
Yep. yeah, it was really was something missing, and it was really this where those disabilities were before I came into the scene in 2012, and not in the technology scene, in the technology, but not as a speaker at conference, but in the really in building the stuff, and it was really even the first days, let's say weeks, months, years, I was really, really disappointed, like looking to the WCAG and not seeing anything about that stuff. And a lot of that stuff is really me building, really in a very, very close cycle with those people, in a very, very, close cycle, I just cycle CICD, and testing with those people and not working what can be better and also working together with